hopefully Rich. Okay,
You're all ready to go, Mr. Chair.
thank you so much. I'd like to call the November meeting of the Middleton Airport Commission to order. First order of business is call to order, or excuse me, the roll call. And do we
All right,
think
we have Bond,
Here.
Halleck,
here?
Borman, and Brar present, but we do not have Munson or Burke.
Okay,
You skip me. You skip me, Mark.
Who?
Luke.
Luke.
we would never skip you, Luke.
I indicated the 5 who are present, and I included you, Luke.
Okay, good. All right, great. Next item of business on the agenda then is the proof of posting and notice.
As always, we posted it on our board, and Debbie Meyer posted it at the airport. We sent it out in our listserv, and it's also on our website, uploaded in OnBase.
Thank you. So the next item of business is the minutes from the October 7th meeting. And I'll give everybody just a pair of seconds to read the minutes. And then we'll see if we have a motion. Okay, I'll read them.
I'll scroll through here.
Yeah,
So the motions made at the meeting are highlighted in bold text.
Mhm.
And that, well, we won't speak to it, but we can talk about that later.
no problem.
And then the other motion down here regarding the unleaded fuel.
Yes. Okay,
And then we have a motion regarding the event request from Capital Flight.
okay, great. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes as written. There a second?
I would second that. This is Michelle.
Okay, John Hellick made a motion, Michelle seconded. Any discussions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
I
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. I don't really have a lot to offer as the chairperson report. I'll provide a lot of information down below for some of the items. A lot of it came in the last 24 hours, so we really didn't get a chance to get it to you. TDS has not got back to me, and I need to follow up with TDS again on whether or not they're willing to put fiber in the airport. So that is the extent of what I have to say at this point. Any questions about that? Okay, here and then we'll move on to the airport manager's report. And do we have a
Okay.
report? Yeah. Where, Richard?
John, do you have, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I dialed it in.
Okay, great.
So I'll be happy to give
Go
the
ahead.
report here.
Okay,
Okay, from September 30 to November 30, 2021, there were 19 noise or overflight complaints. Of these complaints, 10 were from one individual, 4 from another. 6 reports were made using the city online reporting form, 10 via city email, 3 via the phone, and 1 letter. Again, upon investigating, the vast majority of these reports were for aircraft following the voluntary noise abatement procedure. I actually did contact people. There were some requests by an individual to contact people. When I spoke with them, they assured me they were following the noise abatement procedure, and so that is as is to be expected, it seems. All reports which requested contact were addressed by either email or phone by myself. Airport safety, no aircraft accidents or incidents on the field. Okay, one online safety seminar was hosted by Maury Airplane Company on the 27th. Subject was sectional charts. It was well attended with 42. The maintenance, most importantly, on November 1, 2, we had the crack seal done on our taxiway. We had to close the airport for a small section of time while they worked inside the hold short lines to fill those cracks. The work looked pretty good from what I could see. I had to leave on the 2nd, so I haven't seen the final. Okay, AED has arrived. We're going to mount the unit on the wall as was at the location identified by EMS, and hopefully the staff will be getting try to coordinate training through Middleton EMS on all of that. Knox boxes, I guess, have been ordered. They have not arrived yet, to my knowledge. The goats are gone. They left on the 8th of October, excuse me, and the brush clearing continues. I know there'll be a report further along on that. Other news, More Airplane Company and the EE Chapter 93 hosted a special Young Eagles event on Saturday, October 9th. It was well attended and well received. Also, I attended the Wisconsin Aviation Conference between October 18 and 19 and met virtually with the FAA. That was a new addition to what I had submitted. Wildlife, yeah, there's two pairs of sandhill cranes continue to forage. They'll be heading south fairly shortly. And future events, even though Maury Airplane Company has no safety seminars in mind until the new year, our safety rep, Jörg Grossenbacher, has requested us to host a seminar in which he'll be presenting, and that will be in early December. We'll have more information on that later. And that pretty much wraps it up.
Okay, thank you, Rich. Commissioners, does anybody have any questions of Rich?
Yeah, I have a question, Rich, that when you get some complaints that some plane was flying 200 or 500 feet above the house, is there some way of confirming that, verifying that information?
Yeah, well, you remember there is, we go on flight aware, we can get an approximate altitude. Now, that altitude is based on a standard atmosphere, and as we know, atmospheric pressure varies. So for every inch of atmospheric pressure that changes, if it goes from 2992 to 2892, that's 1,000-foot variation. And the altitude is always based on a 2992. Now, the people that call this in regularly know this, and that is part of my response to them. Also, they have a tendency not to say altitude, but say height above their home. Now, a lot of these homes are a good 150 feet higher than the surrounding airport, and our pattern altitude is 1,900 feet, which has been established by the FAA. Therefore, we could be 850 feet above someone's home. If the pressure is non-standard, that could vary. In speaking with at least one of the individuals who someone said their aircraft was 500 feet above their home, he assured me he was at pattern altitude. And so that would have been in the neighborhood of 850 to 900 feet above the house. We can check via the software that is out there that is basically hobby-based and not designed to be forensic. It's not that accurate. And we can also check by talking to the individual pilots and seeing what altitude they were at.
So follow-up is it possible to ask the pilot just to fly maybe 100 or 200 feet higher than what they normally do, or would that be a problem?
We can certainly ask it, but you realize that the Madison airspace starts at 2,300 feet above sea level. Our airport elevation is at 928. Therefore, we have a small window to stay out of Madison's airspace. We can ask people to do so, fly at us, but if they're in the pattern, in the traffic pattern, they need to be. At least fixed-wing aircraft need to be at this traffic pattern altitude for safety and consistency. That's where people are looking for them. That's also where the FAA requires them to be. And if you're training and you're private pilot, for instance, you have a plus or minus 100 feet of altitude deviation. Otherwise, you're not flying to standard. So we have to teach them to follow the traffic pattern altitude as published by the FAA and as determined to be a safe altitude. Otherwise, they're likely to flunk their check rides.
Great. just whatever you could do, maybe ask them, you said the window is plus minus 100 feet. So if there could be more like plus 50, 60 feet. So thank you. Great.
Yep, we can do that, sir.
Any other questions of Rich? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to the next piece of business. Thank you, Rich. So the airport financials, you have a copy of. And so here's kind of my distillation of it. The approved budget originally was 540,000, of which 400,000 was grants that really shouldn't have been on there. So that leaves us about 140,000 budgeted for sources. We're at 286,000. We're over 140,000, which relates to grants and repayments of entitlements. So that's something that was kind of new for us, and that raises that number to 286. If you take the 500 out of the bottom for capital outlay, which is the same category as the 400, that would leave you roughly 145,000. So based on 9 months, we're only at 87,000, so we're well below where we thought we would be. Some of the areas that we budgeted heavy for and we're light on is one is airport grounds maintenance, but we will catch up with that because we haven't got the bills for the goats and some of the other things through yet. And so that number will start to migrate itself back to the 35, but hopefully it will not reach that number. And all the other numbers are pretty much as anticipated. The entitlement match was forgiven this year, so that 8,334. So all in all, I'd say from a budgeting perspective, we're in very good shape. We're better than what we thought we would be. We also have a bonus of about $140,000, $150,000. And that money will come into play for projects that can't be budgeted through the through the BOA because we've expired all of our entitlements and then some. So and thankfully the BOA has helped us out. So is there any specific questions I can answer to anybody about the financials?
Good job, John.
Well, so it's a group effort. The numbers are we all work to get them to make the numbers, so that's good. Moving on next, we'll go to the fixed base operator and airport managers agreement. I'll just give you a little high level and then at what we're looking for, and then we can run through the documents. So Rich has negotiated with the city, and I played a little role in that. With regard to what the city wanted and what Rich wanted, and they have come to an agreement, and the agreement is encapsulated in the document that we're going to review. The document may have something minor change. They may find a wording error or a number wrong, but in substance, it is an accurate depiction of the agreement. And so what the city is asking us to do is to take a look at it, make sure we're in agreement, there are no major errors, and then make a motion to the city that we accept it, I guess, or I'm not sure, Mark, what would be the form that would be good for the city? A motion?
Well, recommendation to the Common Council,
A
Finance Committee and Common Council.
Okay.
If you're content with the, as you said, the form,
Okay.
John, if there's any substantive issues, you have received some
Okay.
feedback from the city attorney that came today.
Yes.
And, so I guess if the framework, if you're comfortable with the framework, then,
Yes.
then you could make a motion with the confidence that
Okay.
I's will be dotted, T's will be crossed, and it will go to the council.
Okay. All right. So why don't we first go walk through the first page is nothing substantial. It just changes the dates between there. So we can just roll past those two date changes. There's really nothing substantial here. We did add a piece here, and that is the option to purchase the fuel farm. And we both agree that the operator is the title holder for that property and to use to store and dispense the aviation fuel. We're calling it the fuel farm. The operator granted us an option to purchase the fuel farm. They were to remove the no less than 6 months, I believe, and that should be gone. That way we don't, if you look at the end of one, it was out of a prior version. At the very end, it says an option to purchase fuel farm. There was a period then, and then the upon no less than 6 months was removed. Because it adds no value. Okay, and Rich agreed to that, so did the city. Upon the exercise of the option, operator shall provide the price at which desires to sell. And then add the receipt, they'll give notice to option to purchase. So there's a little bit of a bit back and forth. If everything's satisfactory, then there's the bill of sale. And if not, then there's a procedure to get some appraisal. And then some terminating language that decides the final cost. Any questions about what's on page 12 there, or 4 of 27? Okay. Okay, you want to roll it up a little bit? We should pay them for the amount of the fuel farm at the time of closing and the general bill of sale. So if Rich leaves, then we will go ahead and pay him for the fuel. Okay, did I miss anything inside of there, Rich?
Nope, I think that covers it, John. Later on item 6, there was some issues about
Okay, all
the
right.
lease stuff, but yeah, we'll get that later.
Okay, good. So we're continuing down the term. So Rich gets another 5 years. The operator agrees that extending the for lease for space within the building for the same period. There's an obligation for the FBO to rent the space, and so Rich has maintains those conditions. Can you mark payment? Okay, so the flowage fee now is kind of changed. So the flowage fee is actually considered a rent for the fuel farm should it be purchased by the city. So that is what is intended. I think we'll talk about it more down below. We have the right to raise the fuel, but no more than 5 cents per gallon over the term of the lease. Prior, it was 1 cent per gallon per year, but we just added it, just made it 5 cents within the period. So we may not do it 1 year, but we may do 2 cents in the next year. We have some flexibility.
Where do you see that, John? I don't follow you.
It's in B, page 4, B flowage.
Right.
Right, we have 8 cents per gallon and reasonable necessary. So up above, operator shall pay a flowage fee of 8 cents per gallon. Middleton reserves the right to increase the charge from the current 8 cents to reasonable. I think we limited it at this is an older form, Mark, the 5 cents within the
Well,
period.
that's why I was confused, because you were saying 5 and I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Well,
Isn't
this is
that right,
what's
Rich?
in the packet.
Yeah, that is correct, John. It was 1 cent a year up to 5 cents in a 5-year period, and you could stagger that as you would like. If you didn't skip a year, you go up to the next year if you wish. Simple.
Right.
So you're saying, are you saying I have an old agreement, is what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm looking here at the red line, just a second, I'm pulling up another agreement.
Okay.
I didn't think I had,
So the key line would just go up, Rich, or go up, Mark.
but this is the one, well, this is from November 1st.
We had it changed to 5 cents. Can you go up to page 3? And where it says where we talk about buying the thing, because that will go a little bit more. Okay, so this is an old one because this also has a 6 months notification period.
Well,
I wonder if Larry converted,
uh,
resent you the old one.
well, I'm gonna check my emails, but let me check my emails, but I thought I saved let me do a search on his emails.
Okay,
What,
Well,
what Mike
this is the one
Davis
which
sent me,
I have seen.
I beg your pardon.
This is the one which I have seen, but I guess I didn't look at the latest one, so.
I mean, there's not.
yeah, John, this is Rich.
Go ahead, Rich.
Mike Davis sent me the most recent ones, and that was a couple days ago for me to go over. So, including the red line and the plain version. So,
And
They
you
are
see
out
one
there.
that says the 5 cents on it, Rich?
up to 5 cents, yes. You were,
Well,
I think you were
just a
copied
second.
on that email, Mark.
Well,
So,
now, I see something here now. Well, I put the packet together before an email that came in on Wednesday. Just a second here.
there you go.
All right, now I see another, just a second. All right, let's see if this is the one we should be reviewing. Doesn't have the redlining on it now. There's the term, payments.
Where'd you
Oh, here
go?
it is, right here.
Okay, so go up. I know where the changes are.
All right,
Not that I have them memorized, but I probably
Okay.
have them memorized.
all right, so why don't we review this paragraph? I did not, so this came in yesterday, late yesterday. I forwarded, okay, I know what happened. I forwarded this to you last night from home, so I didn't have access to our meeting software. So I did not update the packet this morning with this information.
Okay, so why don't we go back up to just to confirm that there is the right to purchase and we'll keep going a little bit more. Okay, 2, it says, or 1, grants the option to purchase the fuel farm. It still has the 6 months in it, and I'm not sure why that was agreed to remove it. So that comes out, so this is still not totally current. But I can tell the commission that it's basically, we can buy it at any time, we can exercise an option. Okay, and then the other change down below was the limitations on the how fast we could raise the rate. Okay, right, so that was, right, that would be flowage fee. All right, and then where the next change down would be, continue down.
I'm just taking some notes. I just want to make sure I get it.
Right, yep. The services never changed. We never changed any of that.
Well, let me go back to the packet, just a second.
Okay,
We're just looking for the changes, right?
yeah.
There we go. So so this is under operating standards.
Yeah. I can help you out with that after that. We added the annual performance review. Actually, that was my addition. Anytime you give somebody a long-term contract, you should have some way of doing annual performance reviews so that they get feedback. So there's an annual performance review. We did one last year, conducted by the Airport Commission, but we also had other people involved in it. The scope of the review is limited to the services as defined within this agreement. So we can't just start making things up, right? So that's the limit.
So this now is, next one's under insurance.
Insurance, okay. So Rich, are you paying the insurance? What is the, this one here, I'm not totally clear on.
Yeah. Yeah, the mandate to pay this insurance, which we didn't have prior, was not part of my earlier contract. We felt that there was a need, and that was changed by the city. The contract was, and then Mike Davis, I believe it was Mike, that because this was a new imposition on our contract, the city would pay that until the end of the term. And now whoever gets the FBO contract is going to be liable for that. So I will be paying that from the
Okay,
this versus the city having paid it, I believe, 2 years.
so there's a transfer of those fees from the city to you.
Correct.
Okay. Or you want to continue down then, Mark?
I think that was,
That's it.
Yeah.
So to recap, at a top line is we've added to the agreement that the city has the right to purchase the fuel farm and specified a procedure to buy that.
Mhm.
And that the fuel farm would be operated then by the FBO. And it would be done on a triple net, they would maintain the maintenance. So the economics does not change. Rich continues to pay the fuel fee to the city, and we will treat it as rent to the fuel farm. And then Rich will be in charge of operating it and maintaining it as he currently does. Okay, and we don't, where we will,
believe
we
you-
will, go ahead, Rich.
I'm sorry. Yeah, item 6 was confusing to me on the FPO agreement because it said we'd be charged triple net. Well, we're being
Yes.
charged flowage fee and at least add a triple net, but you understand that, so that'll be
Yes,
changed.
and I responded to Larry Beckler today. And Larry's
Okay, very good.
gonna clean that language up.
Excellent, excellent. I mentioned it to Mike Davis as well. All right, very good.
Okay, yeah, so I think that's taken care of. Continuing then, we limited the amount of money we could raise the fuel flowage fee. So there's no surprises for Rich. We added the annual performance review, which makes sense. And it's limited to the services as defined in the contract. And I believe that was all that's in this.
and the insurance. Okay, yep.
Yeah, and the insurance was transferred from the city to the FBO. Is there, at this point, I'm sure it's confusing. If there's any way, any questions we can answer, any clarifications we could make. So if you're confused on anything, please ask.
And I have the non-redlined version that was sent to you last night, right here.
And again, all we're looking for at this time is to agree to the changes that were made in concept. And then, if there's any, a couple of these wording changes might need to be done just for clarification. That would be up to the city attorney and Rich to agree on. So if there's no questions, would somebody like to make a motion to make a recommendation to the Common Council to accept the agreement?
This is Luke. I will make the motion to recommend to the Common Council that they adopt the airport manager agreement as written.
Okay.
To adopt the revised FBO. No, this was the
Yeah,
FBO.
once the edits that we've walked through have been incorporated into the final document.
This is the fixed based, this is the FBO agreement.
Okay. So we have a motion. Would anyone care to second it? I'd be happy to second it if no one else will.
I'd be happy to second it too. This is Michelle.
Okay, so Michelle seconds it. Is there any discussion or any clarification about anything in the agreement? There were only a few minor changes. They really weren't substantive, I don't think, other than the purchase of the agreement and the transfer of the insurance. The rest of it's pretty straightforward. Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All those in favor of the accepting the motion to make a recommendation to the common council, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I heard 2 votes, but if you're calling it, motion passes. Okay,
Yeah, is there anybody opposed? Please say aye. No one's opposed, therefore, so it carries.
okay.
Next, we'll take a look at the airport managers agreement.
Just a second. Why is this only the, I'm sorry, that's because that's just the FBO document. Here we go.
Are we
There
the
you
right
go.
one? Okay, airport managers agreement, okay. So the first part of it is just a clarification of dates. Okay, you want to continue down? Okay, then Rich is going to provide an hourly label schedule. I'm not sure, did we agree to take that out? I wasn't sure what the purpose of that was.
Yep.
Rich?
That was agreed to be just struck because neither the city nor you or I could figure out why it was there, actually, because I
Okay.
give that every year with our summary.
Exactly, you give the unit, you give the unit cost. So we agreed to
Exactly.
strike that clause. It
Just-
served no purpose.
I'm just comparing it with the version I got from Larry that I sent you last night. Just a second here. Let me start at the top.
Yeah.
Conduct. Provide. Unfortunately, the page numbers are different. Provide the operating, okay, I'm here. Custodial responsibilities. So that's, okay, so this is still in the, this is how it looks now. So this is still here.
It wasn't in the one I looked at today
Yeah.
and reviewed. So.
That's,
Are you sure?
no, the custodial
Yeah.
responsibilities are there. Where is it? There's nothing in there that says that you have.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the one after. I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong. Yeah. So this part is gone. Provide the hour. Yeah. We're
Okay.
on the same page. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, so that comes out because it served no purpose.
Yep. Got it.
Right.
Okay,
Redundant.
My apologies.
yeah, not a problem. Okay, the annual performance review again is limited to the topic and scope of the services in this agreement. It's an obligation on all parties to,
Yeah, that's it. So the only addition is the annual performance review.
We did make one more change though, that's not captured here. And that is that the, where was the $3,250, Rich?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
I think
the reality, again, this, unlike Mr. Beckler or Lawyer Beckler's letter, this is not a salary that's being paid to me. This is a reimbursement of operating costs by Maury Airplane Company to mow the grass, plow the snow, and do everything else we need to do out there. Over the last 2 years, the totals have been closer to the $39,000 range rather than $32,000 that we had set earlier. So I requested that we simply bump the monthly stipend up from $26.62, I believe it was, to $32.50 to reflect that change. Just as a review, if our operating expenses come in under that $39,000 budgeted or expected, then I write the city a check because they paid me that amount. If it's over, and it tends to be in that range, then the city writes me a check. That's the way the agreement is written. So again, this is a reimbursement of operating expenses, and I charge out, essentially a break-even point on my labor to the city on this to operate the airport. So this just reflects the reality of how the expenses have changed over the years.
So let me kind of rephrase a little bit. So we have in the budget this year, roughly $40,000 of Rich's projection for costs. If you divide it by 12, you get a roughly $3,250 a month. So this is actually a monthly advance on that contract. And then at the end of the year, the contract is trued up against the actual amount charged or should be charged by Maury Airplane Company against the amount advanced. If the amount advanced is more than the actual cost, then Rich will pay back some of the advance. If the advance is short of the actual cost, then the city will have to make up the difference. Okay, so it's just a way for Rich to get paid throughout the year. But we've already agreed and budgeted the amount. And we changed it, the amount, monthly amount is fixed on what the costs were years ago. And this number reflects what the costs are today. Rich, is that fair assessment?
Yeah, that is a very fair assessment, John.
Okay. So those are the only changes in this agreement. So we changed the monthly advance. We added a performance review. And what else did we change in here? Not much anything else.
Just the dates, just obviously the dates.
And the dates. So there's a very, very minimal changes here. It tracks what was done before.
And this, this part was stricken.
That part's stricken.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. John, there was one other thing that I caught in my read through on this one.
Uh-huh.
That would be section 8. It's minor, but it says I would have 30 days if there, let's say I violated the regulation, something with my management agreement. I didn't do something. I had 30 days from the date of the violation to correct it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to request that it goes from the city is supposed to notify us in writing. Now, this has never will happen.
You're cutting out, Rich.
Yeah, so this
I'm
is,
sorry. Can you hear me now better?
Yes.
yeah, go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would like it to go from 30 days of the violation to 30 days from the notification for the company to change or to correct that error, simply because we might even not, well, probably wouldn't be aware of what was, that we were in violation until the city pointed it out. So, yeah, just minor wording changes to make it, we could get a notification 60 days after something happened and,
Yeah,
and
no, you're
technically be null and void on our contract. So
That's right. Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct.
That
So
makes
if
sense.
if the violation is not corrected within 30 days of the date of notification, right?
yes,
Yep.
please.
Right?
Yep.
Or if the owner has other reasonable and just cause, then it may be terminated by the owner within 30 days. So it's the same clause that's in, it's just this is a notification section. And Rich makes a very good point. The 30 days should start from his notification, not of the violation. I would agree to that. It makes sense.
I see no problem with that either.
Yeah. That's a good catch, Rich.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Okay. Any comments or questions on this agreement?
Looks good.
And so what we're looking for is a recommendation to the Common Council that to agree, I guess, to this, what is it, the FBO or the Airport Managers Agreement with potential minor changes as discussed.
With the change to section 8,
Yes,
clarifying that it's 30 days from the date of notification.
yeah. So it'd be with the red line changes and the additional change of section 8. Does anybody like to make a motion in that regard?
This is Luke. Similar to my last motion, I will make a recommendation to the Common Council that the airport manager agreement with the changes highlighted that Mark just mentioned, or the Airport Commission recommend to the Common Council passage of said agreement.
Okay,
Recommend that the Common Council approve the revised airport manager's agreement with the change to Section 8, clarifying it's 30 days from the date of notification of violation.
yes.
That's what I heard, Luke.
Yeah. That's exactly what I said. Yep.
Do I hear that we have a motion from Luke? Somebody care to second that?
Second.
Okay, so David seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of approving the airport manager agreement, a motion for the airport manager agreement, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. Hearing no opposition, the motion passes. Okay, I think we're through that. Before it goes to the Common Council, Rich, maybe I should take a look, you should take a look, and Mike should take a look one last time.
Yeah, I'm all about that. I'll be back in town well before the Common Council meets, so I'll be able to go over that.
Okay, we just don't drink too many hand grenades.
I haven't had one. I hate those sweet rum drinks. So
Okay, so let's move on to the next item, brush removal and the restoration maintenance of the North Fork Pheasant Branch Creek.
okay, and I'm sorry. Could I introduce, or I've only got 20 minutes left, and then I have to be gone. I just
Okay.
wanted to state, and I know it may not be on the menu or tonight, but I have been working with Matt. We're going to get your form set up and square as soon as possible and get it back to you. And I do believe that we've got, we've come up with some good ideas for what we can do to make the event even better and safer next year. So
That's excellent. The one thing I made I didn't
Is that
do-
part of your airport manager report?
it must be, yes.
Rich, the one thing I didn't do is you should add a line to the bottom of the form and a date where it's just signed off by the airport manager.
I will do that. I'll work with you, John, to make sure this form is to your liking before we execute it. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
Does anyone object to that being part of the airport manager report? Because it's clearly part of his activities, what he's been doing.
No, looks great.
Clearly a future event item. Yeah.
Okay.
So I also have to leave in about 15 minutes, got the other meeting, so.
All right. Well, we'll lose our quorum then, won't we?
Let's keep moving.
Okay, so let's talk
Oh.
about the, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead. I mean, assuming I don't know if Luke's going to that other meeting too, but anyway, item 3 is next, Mr. Chair.
Kara, are you on the line?
I sure am. Can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Great. Mark, can you pull up the first email I sent you, number 1, that showed the map? would see.
I don't recall 2 emails from you.
There should have been 4 separate ones. And if you don't have the one that says meeting and then number 1, then we'll just go with what I got
Oh,
here.
I see him now. Okay. So there's this one.
There we go.
Okay.
That's great. So if you want to just kind of center it so they can see the map, I just wanted to briefly do an overview of where we started last year and where we are right now. Hopefully the map can get centered on the screen so people can see.
I don't know how else to blow this up. Sorry.
That's okay. Just kind of a rough thing. I think I'd like to just briefly, read actually from the proposal and the report I had last year, just so we can get grounded in what the whole purpose of this was. And like the purpose of the waterway brush overgrowth removal project is to completely remove years of overgrowth in an efficient and effective manner while laying the groundwork for ongoing brush and stormwater management. Solutions to addressing brush overgrowth in airport waterways were influenced by the overarching goals of maintaining the highest levels of, number 1, the safety of airport, aircraft, people, and wildlife. Number 2 was environmental responsibility / sustainability. And number 3 was efficient use of available human and financial resources. So what we did last year is, as a pilot project for the goats, even though using goat grazing as part of brush removal has been well established at airports far greater and larger than ours, like O'Hare, we needed to kind of, obviously demonstrate it for ourselves. And those areas 1 and 2, which are pink, if you can see that on your screen, were the areas that we addressed last year with goat grazing. Number 1 was goat grazing almost completely with a little bit of lopping. And number 2, we did goat grazing followed by some manual clearing with chainsaws and lopping. And if, just so you can get a sense of the before and after, if you want to scroll down, Mark, this first area is the one over by the car dealership. I don't know if you can see that picture. Are you there, Mark? I think I lost him. Anyway, before he, or until he comes back so you can scroll down and see, what I wanted to demonstrate is what the area looked like before. There we go. That's the area before we did goat grazing or any clearing, mainly filled with willows and a lot of different plants, some native, some invasive. And so then the next picture shows after it was only about 4 days of goat grazing. It's not a very good resolution, but basically every, willow, the only thing was left was just a few dead stalks. And if you go to the third picture, I want you to see what it looks like now. We have successfully been able to get, Larry mowing to the edge, the farmer, and Jeff and Greg have been able to mow back into the area, which is exactly what our goal was, is get the area cleared so that now we can manually mow the areas. And so this area is basically complete. And that area, plus the second area last year, we had budgeted for, or we estimated about $4,000, a little over $4,000 to do the 2 areas. We wound up completing that in just over $2,000. So we had quite a bit of savings in the projection because, when you're dealing with nature and with the goats, you have to give a little bit of a leeway. And we had a really, great success with that. If you go to the second email, Mark, it'll show the second area, which also gives a little teaser for the third area that we just did. And as a reminder, these 2 areas I'm showing you right now were mainly narrow waterway. They were low areas that were wet continuously that we couldn't get equipment in some of the spots. And then mainly it was just the overgrowth that there was concern about backing a mower in there until we really knew what we had. Now this one, area 2, is at the west end of runway 1028. This is the section that kind of parallels the runway. And that's what it looked like before we started the goat grazing last year. And then the next picture down shows when we were done with the goat grazing, and we had a little bit of volunteer work to do some chainsawing. And, Greg and I did some work on the airport time as well in that area. So that's the second picture, shows last year. And if you look in the back before you move on, if you look at the trees to the right there, that is the section 3 that we had left for this year. So you can see what it looked like at the close of the season last year. And if you go to the bottom picture, now you get to see what it looks like at the close of the season here. So the cattail area was forestry mulch, the parts that could in the spring. We had to do 0 maintenance to that area this summer. And then you can see the tree area that was blocking the hangars. That area is completely gone. So now we have a clear view. The only thing that's standing in the way there, by the way, are piles of not only dirt and rubble from the forestry mulching in the spring, but we've also piled on top of that all of the willows and the other things that we've been cutting down for a burn. So for the first time ever, you can see across that little drainage area right next to the taxiway. And you see actually across the pond area, right to high sight over to the other side. Those trees are actually in the dog part. Those maples you see there are still in red bloom. But that photo is actually today. So that shows that we've cleared absolutely everything around that area. I'd like to move on to the third one. And just kind of in summary, where we left it last year is that this is kind of a progressive plan where first we had to do, kind of the pilot pilot program, then we had to do removal, and then there will be restoration. And this is about a 3 to 5 year project to do this right and do this so it maintains itself, and with some very little maintenance from airport staff in future. So last year we had budgeted basically $6,200 to do these two areas, plus an additional $2,500 to burn. Ideally, we would have wanted to burn last fall. The conditions weren't right last fall. We didn't burn this spring because the burning then needed to take place after the brush removal, and McFarland's couldn't get here in time for the season for burning. So essentially we saved that $2,500 as well. So we came out of last year with an estimate, where we had basically $6,500 that we didn't spend, that we were projecting coming into the season of 2021 for the grazing. So you've seen this picture before, I've shown it before, but I wanted to do this for reiteration. The tall growth has been untouched. That's what we were dealing with for the last several years, plus that's where we were at the beginning of this season. The shorter growth in the front is the result of the forestry mulching that we were able to do in April. And that is about 5 months worth of growth of unchecked willow growth and other species that are in there. So that was pre-goat grazing, pre-hand clearing, and also additional forestry mulching that we had from a volunteer. So if we slide down there, Mark, to the next picture, this is what it looks like actually a week ago. Right now, all of the rubble you see in the front has been cleared by a friend of the airport who came in with his own forestry mulcher and has pulled a lot of that out and ground it to the ground. So the only thing that's remaining as of today are a few trees that are crossing the creek, of which the Maury Airport staff is going to be able to remove those, so that there will be basically nothing, across the creek area, and, ready for the next phase of restoration. So for me, this was just an absolute, joy and labor of love to see the teamwork from getting, the forestry mulching that was donated by McFarland's, to the volunteers that came and helped, the airport staff, Rich's support, vegetation solutions with the goats. I mean, it really was a team effort, because the massive amount of stuff that we cleared in this period of time was really a Herculean effort. And if we move now to the final series of pics that I've included, this is about the whole entire area 3, the one that was about 5 times the amount of areas 1 and 2 combined of brush and debris that we needed to reveal. So what you're seeing here is the mound of forestry mulching debris after area 2 was forestry mulched, and all the way along the taxiway, they just piled it there in this section. And what you're seeing is the area around the pond that we now needed to get to. This is just one side of the pond. This is actually a double row. So if you scroll down now, Mark, if you will. This is that was the north side of the pond. This is the south side of the pond, the first day when the goats were going right in there, just to give you a sense of the height of it, the thickness of it. The resolution isn't the greatest, but if you could see, basically the understory was so thick that we can't get through there. So what we did is allow the goats go in to do their job. And the next picture should show, I don't have that picture in there, but I was showing a picture where you could actually see the difference they make up to about 5 or 6 feet of height. But bottom line, again, this is a pre-picture of the 4th area around the pond, so you can see what it looked like. And this is what it looks like now. So the north and south side have been completely cleaned out. You can actually see what we're dealing with. This doesn't give you the perspective, but that's about a 12-foot drop down to the pond. Some of it is overlapping and eroding underneath the embankment. So the staff's concern about bringing equipment close to the edge was definitely warranted. That's a view from west facing east. And this next view, a little below that, the next picture down, just backs up a little further. What this shows is an area of pure erosion just west of the pond that was initially, I think, there for the sod farm. It is now, after the flood of 2018, been completely enlarged and gorged, and now you can see what we're having to deal with, the remainder. So basically, between the goats and human beings climbing down in there, this is now turning around 180 degrees. This is a small collection area to the west of where I was standing in that last photo. This has been drained almost about 2 feet just by manually clearing through to allow some drainage to occur. And then the last picture shows further north, or excuse me, further west, all the way to the boundary. Those tall trees in the middle there were the perimeter of where we had the goats graze. So they have grazed through all of this, and we've hand cleared, and also hand cleared. You can see the creek now trickle. It's basically just a trickle most of the time, unless we've had a rain. But that kind of gives you an overview of what we've accomplished now. What's remaining is now burning. We do have the piles to burn, and you can see the grass that needs to be burned there. Burning is really, really effective for invasive species. And I know I might have mentioned this before, but not to be redundant, but invasive species put all their energy into the foliage. So if you burn and graze over and over, or mow, a combination of the three where possible, over and over, eventually the invasive plants die. Native species put all their energy into the root structures. So that's why embankments are saved from erosion without clogging the waterways, unfortunately, like willows will do. So the idea is that as we look towards the potential of recontouring this area to restore it back to its natural form pre-flooding and pre alterations with all of the thick trees that were there, we'll have better drainage and better maintenance, even in the areas where we can't get equipment, by the seeding of native species and proper species that won't reclog the waterways again. So I think that was it. I don't think I had another photo down there, Mark, just in case. I just want to make sure I didn't forget
You
anything.
do not.
Okay, so basically, in summary, I know we're still working on getting the costs in from Vegetation Solutions. I was able to get that just before the meeting, but probably not enough to present it. But bottom line, what we had estimated for this summer out of the pilot program is we were going to need the goats on the property for about 2 months to do rotational grazing through the 5 different sections in that area. And Mark, if it's not too much of a trouble, if we can go back to the map, which was in the first email, first picture.
Kara, we're gonna need to pick up the pace here because
Okay,
we're gonna lose our quorum.
Just
We
to
haven't
let you
talked about
know,
what we're gonna do next.
okay.
I have to go now, so
Okay.
thank you.
So we're kind of done with the meeting, I think.
Luke, are you able to stay with us?
I am. Yep. Sorry.
Do we have
Okay,
enough
so-
people?
We still have a quorum.
Okay,
Okay, I can, basically, in just final summary, where we go from here is we finish with burning this year. We then look at how we can, regrade and look at that possibility. But the main thing now is transferring from, the invasive species and maintaining those, either through a combination of manual clearing, goat grazing, and mowing, whatever we can do to keep the invasive species down. But eventually we'll need to have seeding, proper seeding, in order to transfer it so that it looks like the north side of the retention pond on the other side of Airport Road, which took about 3 years to convert, and now it is self-maintaining. So that's where we're heading, and we can do more detail next month due to lack of time here.
so let me summarize some of the things that we're trying to do. There's two pieces to be done. So they've done a yeoman's job of getting everything cut and put down. There is an action item that I think we were looking to have somebody come in to help make sure that there was no brush in the waterway. And it looks like we don't need that now, that the airport staff is going to be able to clear that and burn it this year. So then the next activity is the city engineer has drawings, and we're going to put together a a project and engineering, and it will be, have to be taken out to bid to do all of the regrading and all of the clearing of the waterways, and it will include the seeding. So we'll have one contractor come in and do everything. So we're down to where staff basically only has to mow and burn.
I'm a little confused, John. You first said that we had thought about hiring someone to remove brush from the waterway. Then you
Yes,
said you didn't think that's necessary. Then you said we need to go out for bid to regrade and clear the waterway.
yeah. So we're clear the waterway of silt, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Right, so one is debris. There was debris, and we were actually notified by a government agency, I forget which one, was concerned with brush getting into the creek. But that's been resolved. Cara and Maury are plain staff. We're going to manually clear the creek of any vegetation that has fallen down or been cut, and that will be burnt this year. And then Eric, the city engineer, is going to put together a proper engineering drawing, I hope, I think, because we'll have to permit it because these are navigable waterways. And the cost of this project is going to be more in line with something that's going to have to be bid. So we have to try to, first of all, figure out an estimate of cost and some funding, because there's no sense bidding it unless we know that we can pay for it.
And I
There's
think
a lot
the
of work
term,
to be done at the administration level.
I think the term you want is to dredge the waterway, right? Is that a
Yes.
fair?
They're gonna recontour the sides and reestablish the grades in the creeks so that the water flows.
So taking sediment out of the waterway is the same as dredging, I think, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
And then hopefully that we can actually grab from what we've learned in this area here south of the runway, we can accumulate our costs and put together a plan for doing what's left on the north side, possibly next year. So the manual work then would go to the north, right, Cara?
Correct.
And then, we'll finalize this side. And it's kind of like a stair step approach. Right, and so that is the plan. And so hopefully we'll be able to get with Eric. He's got all the drawings, and there might be a couple more he needs. And then he's going to have to guide us as to how this happens. And we're going to have to figure out the rough cost and how it gets funded. So that's the next big push. So this year, all we got left is burning. And then we'll regroup and figure out what's going on next year. Right?
Oh, and one thing to add with the burning is we've discovered we don't need to hire out adaptive restoration, that $2,500. We found out that we can do it, here within house with the material that we have.
And possibly the fire department if you need it.
Right, right.
Okay. Any questions from any of the commissioners? Okay, great job, and hopefully we'll have more coming up shortly. This should be hopefully burnt, you think, by the next, by the 4th of December, or whatever that is?
Weather permitting, right
Weather
conditions, we
permitting,
can do
right.
it. Yep.
Good, well, that'll be great, and hopefully we'll have some update on the engineering, and maybe we can get an estimate on the cost.
That'd be great. Thanks for all your help with this, John.
Okay, no problem, no problem. You guys are doing a great job. You're doing the heavy lifting, literally.
It's good
Literally.
exercise.
I'll donate. I've got a brand new steel chainsaw I haven't used. I'll give it to you as a gift.
I'll
She's
break it
brushing
in
up
for
on
you.
her skills.
Yeah, stills. That's great. Okay, if there's any questions on the brush removal and restoration. This is a fairly big project. I'm not sure what the cost is going to be or how it's going to be funded, but it's something we'll have to work on. So no questions. Let's move on to the fourth one. There's a lot of new information here on the fourth one. And we need to hopefully discuss and make some decisions on this one. So the plan was to try and add in the unleaded fuel to the existing airport fuel farm and in a reasonable period of time. So the original estimate was about 100, and this was the back of an envelope estimate, was 100 to $125,000 for the addition of the unleaded tank. Based on a conversation that I had this afternoon, that numbers looks like it's more like 200,000. And an engineering cost could be more like 30,000. So it's not 100,000, it's actually more like 230,000. So that's one problem. The problem is it's over double. The second problem is that the availability of the materials would be at least 9 months. So if you ordered something today, you're probably not going to get it until late fall of next year. So that doesn't take into consideration to take it out to bid because it's so expensive. We're going to have to hire engineers. We're going to have council approval. We're going to have to figure out funding. There's a lot of piece parts that go along with it. So now that this is so expensive, and because the time frame potentially is to the end of next year, the question is the new fuel, the new G100 UL fuel, going to be available before then? Because if it is, then we can just put it in the existing tanks. So the quandary is, do we continue on with this, trying to fund a very expensive project? Or do we, at this time, just say, let's take a deep breath and let's go 3 months or to the end of the first quarter and find out where we are with the new unleaded fuel? There's been a lot of changes in the last month. Now, all of the Cessnas, or a lot of the Cessnas, I forget, there are a lot of new aircraft that can use this fuel. In addition, all of the aircraft that could use the Swift fuel can now use the G100 UL fuel. So the landscape is changing faster than I'm afraid we can buy something. I'd hate to buy something, put a project in place, fund a project, get it done, and find out, oh, we didn't really need to do it. We're not really helping the people, the neighbors, because it's going to get done in the same time frame, and we're certainly not helping the city by spending money that we don't need to spend. So that's the question, and I'd be interested in hearing what everybody's thought is on that.
Yeah, I think, John, what you just outlined makes total sense. I hate to use the term kind of wait and see approach, because I do think this issue is of the utmost importance for eventually the city to take action upon.
Yes.
But, you know, given the dynamic and particularly the budgetary issues that we're facing as a city right now, I think this should continue to be, you know, an issue that we investigate and remains kind of on the forefront of our priority list, but with the acknowledgement that this will be a recurring agenda item that comes before this commission for investigation and potentially for action, you know, hopefully I should say for action within the next, you know, 6 months, but doesn't necessarily need to be done at this particular meeting.
Yeah, I think if we decided today, let's go full steam ahead, we may not get it done before the fuel's available. I mean, David Lorman, you've been following it. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Jack Pelton just released an editorial piece. Jack Pelton, for those of you who don't know him, he's a former CEO of Textron, and now he's the, I guess, CEO of Experimental Aircraft Association. And his response was very similar, supporting that we are really right now in the middle of a changing landscape as well. His general thoughts align with ours, and that we're going to end up with some kind of unleaded fuel. It's just a matter of when. And so, yeah, to spend the money right now, there's probably really no need because it's going to change and continue to change. I would just add one comment. I've noticed some local pilots with Lycoming power plants in 172. They've gone out and already got some STCs labels put right on their airplane, already supporting unleaded fuel. So there's local pilots even in the area that are, already embracing this change. Yep.
Michelle, your thoughts on this?
I think that all sounds good to me. I think, continuing to put it on the agenda so we re-look at it. And I think if the current tank is able to be changed, and accept the new fuel when it comes, then that seems to be the logical choice at this time.
Yeah, I want to help the citizens the best that I can.
Yes,
I'm just afraid that if we did something today, it wouldn't make any difference because the fuel will be here at the same time as the motion that we
yes,
would undertake. And so we're not benefiting anybody any quicker. And if it is, it would be by a month or two, or it could even be by less. The fuel could even be here before we could get the facilities in place. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I think knowing what the cost is, and even worse, how long it's going to take to get it done, I think we should just take a breather here. And as Luke said, we'll keep it as a recurring item on the agenda, and we'll take it and we'll watch it, and we'll move cautiously forward.
sounds like a good plan.
So with everybody's agreement, I think that's what we'll do. And if anybody feels differently, please acknowledge that right now. Let me know. Okay. All right, so we'll take a breather. We'll take a look at it next month, and we'll withhold any action in trying to decide funding. We'll just put all of our resources, I think, right now behind the brush removal and the restoration project. I think one big project is probably enough at this time. Okay. All right, moving on to future events, agenda items. The only agenda item, we'll have the recurring discussion on the fuel. Hopefully we will be able to have an action on the capital flight projects. If we have any progress report, we'll have that on the North Fork, Pheasant Branch Creek. That will be primarily what we're going to do next. I think we've seen the clearing. We know what's been done. It's clear. Let's focus on what we need to do next. And I think those items will be on there. If anybody has any additional items or thinks of any through the period between now and the next airport commission meeting, if you'll let me know, we'll make sure that they get an airing. One thing else that I was thinking about, and I'd like you to give some consideration to, I was thinking about maybe skipping the 1st of January airport commission meeting. It'll be at a time when not much is happening in the middle of the winter time, and a lot of the families go for Christmas and New Year's Eve, etc. So we may
January
discuss
6th.
that. I beg your pardon?
That'll be January 6th.
January 6th. So we'll discuss that, think about that between now and the December meeting. So if we don't have anything.
Was that your epiphany, John?
That's my epiphany.
I guess the only other future events that I would put on is the survey for the Middleton area residents. Just to keep up to date on that would be my only other thing.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's an excellent comment. So I'm not sure when it goes out.
Yeah.
And but whenever it goes out, hopefully we can get Mark to tell us what the results were and walk us through the results of the survey. That would be extremely useful. Okay. If there's no other comments or events, Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, so motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, the November Airport Commission is officially complete. Thank you.